How trade wars and tariffs impact everyday consumer prices. Trade wars and tariffs have a significant impact on everyday consumer prices, often making goods more expensive and reducing the variety of products available. When countries impose tariffs on imports, they essentially raise the cost of foreign goods, which is frequently passed on to consumers through higher retail prices. This can affect a wide range of products from electronics and clothing to food and automobiles. Additionally, trade restrictions can disrupt supply chains, lead to limited availability, and even discourage innovation in certain industries. While tariffs are often aimed at protecting domestic industries, they can have unintended consequences, ultimately burdening consumers with higher prices and fewer choices. Understanding how these trade policies influence the cost of living is crucial in assessing the broader economic effects of global trade tensions. Number 5. Higher prices on imported goods. Whenever governments apply tariffs on imported goods, they are essentially imposing a tax on these commodities, which results in an increase in the cost of these items for consumers in the domestic market. When importers are confronted with greater costs, they frequently pass those costs on to customers in the form of higher retail pricing. For example, during a trade war between the United States and China, tariffs were placed on a wide variety of Chinese imports, which resulted in price increases for popular goods such as electronics, furniture, apparel, and toys. These are all sectors in which China is a significant supplier to the United States. In particular, during peak shopping seasons, consumers in the United States paid considerably higher prices for products such as cell phones, laptops, home furnishings, and children's toys as a result of the additional cost that was incurred by tariffs. This increase had an effect on the purchasing power of daily people because essentials and popular products were more expensive. This demonstrates how trade tariffs, which are designed to encourage domestic manufacturing, frequently result in higher costs and a lower capacity for consumers to spend money. Number 4. Supply chain disruptions and limited product choices. When tariffs are applied to imported raw materials like steel, aluminum, or other essential components, the cost of production rises for domestic manufacturers who depend on these inputs to make finished goods. For instance, U.S. tariffs on imported steel and aluminum increase costs for American car manufacturers, appliance makers, and construction companies who rely heavily on these metals. As a result, these manufacturers often pass the added costs down the line, making products like cars, refrigerators, and washing machines more expensive for consumers. Over time, this can lead to a noticeable uptick in the prices of a wide range of goods, especially those heavily reliant on metal components, directly impacting consumer budgets. In addition to higher production costs, trade wars can create significant disruptions within supply chains, leading to scarcity of certain products. These disruptions might stem from delays at ports, increased regulatory barriers, or companies shifting their production away from affected regions. When supply becomes limited due to these barriers, retailers often raise prices to reflect the scarcity as they have fewer goods to meet consumer demand. In some cases, products that were once widely available may become harder to find or only obtainable at premium prices, making basic items less affordable and accessible for many consumers. For example, during prolonged trade tensions, certain electronics or specialty foods that depend on specific imports might disappear from shelves or reappear at significantly marked up prices, making trade wars a source of both cost increases and availability challenges for everyday consumers. Number 3. Inflationary pressures on domestic goods. Tariffs that are put on imported goods diminish competition by increasing the cost of foreign items. This, in turn, can lower the amount of pressure that is placed on domestic producers to keep prices at a low level. This dynamic is especially noticeable in sectors of the economy that formerly accounted for a significant amount of the market for goods originating from other countries. Considering that domestic producers do not have to compete with imports that provide lower prices, they frequently have greater leeway to raise their own pricing. This is because they are aware that consumers have fewer options available to them. For instance, if a tax is imposed on imported agricultural products such as fruits or grains, it is possible that local farmers will initially gain from an increase in demand for their supply. These local farmers, on the other hand, may feel less obligated to maintain prices that are competitive if the level of competition from international sources decreases. In the event that customer demand continues to be high and there are few other sources available, domestic producers may choose to raise prices in order to capitalize on the decreased level of competition. This condition can lead to overall higher prices for consumers, who now pay more for commodities that are imported as well as goods that are produced domestically. This demonstrates how tariffs can ultimately diminish market competitiveness and inflate prices in critical areas such as agriculture and food production. Number 2. Impact on wages and employment. Tariffs are frequently implemented in order to safeguard home industries and increase local employment opportunities. This is accomplished by increasing the prices of imported goods with the goal of encouraging consumers to choose alternatives that are produced domestically. On the other hand, these tariffs may also result in unanticipated and unfavorable consequences on employment, particularly for businesses that rely on imported materials to manufacture their products. It is possible that American manufacturers in industries such as electronics or car parts, which are heavily dependent on components sourced from other countries, will be subject to drastically increased production costs as a result of the imposition of tariffs. Companies may resort to wage cuts, layoffs, or even transferring sections of their operations overseas in order to circumvent the tariffs altogether in order to handle the high costs associated with these additional charges. The personnel in these industries, as well as the local economies that are dependent on these jobs, may suffer as a result of this ripple effect, which can be detrimental to both parties. The decrease in household income that occurs as a result of enterprises cutting back on employment or freezing pay has a negative impact on purchasing power and makes the costs of ordinary products appear to be significantly higher in comparison to the levels of income. The complicated influence that trade policies have on job markets and local economies is highlighted by the fact that tariffs can accidentally affect the same consumers and workers that they are intended to protect. Number 1. Long-term impact on consumer choice and innovation. A sustained trade war can lead to reduced variety in the marketplace as tariffs and trade restrictions limit the availability of foreign goods, narrowing consumer choices. For example, if tariffs are imposed on foreign vehicles, car manufacturers may be less inclined to import certain models, or the added costs might force foreign car makers to raise prices, making those cars less affordable for consumers. As a result, consumers may face fewer options to choose from, both in terms of brands and specific product features. Over time, this lack of variety can make it more difficult for consumers to find products that suit their needs, leading to a less dynamic marketplace. Additionally, trade restrictions can decrease the incentive for companies to innovate. When foreign competition is reduced or made more expensive by tariffs, domestic companies may feel less pressure to improve the quality or features of their products. Without the need to compete aggressively on price or quality with international brands, local producers may focus more on maintaining their existing products rather than introducing new innovations. This lack of competition can slow down technological advancements and product improvements, leaving consumers with fewer cutting-edge options and potentially stalling progress in industries where innovation is key, such as electronics, automobiles, or even consumer goods. Consequently, while tariffs may protect domestic industries in the short term, they can also limit choice and slow progress, ultimately resulting in a less competitive and dynamic market for consumers. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon.